to the jump off point. I am Sly.
I'm the Chief.
And I'm Spook.
And we've just come back from seeing Steven Spielberg's latest movie, Ready Player One.
Insert coin in the slot now.
Although a quarter is pretty cheap for these games these days.
Oh, 2045. Alright, so do you want to synopsise the movie or just jump straight into it?
You probably should give the 3-minute synopsis.
3-minute synopsis.
Just give a pause before you start so I can edit that through.
So Ready Player One is about a virtual world called the Oasis, which everybody is obsessed about. And Wade Watts, who enters the virtual world under the name of...
Possible.
And the inventor of the Oasis, he's left a puzzle, and whoever solves the puzzle inherits the Oasis and gets to do with it what they will. But there is an evil corporation, as there always is, called IOI.
What's the Robocop evil corporation called?
OCP.
OCP.
Yeah.
So OCP.
IOI, who want to solve the riddle for themselves and for their own gain, and in the end, Parzival, who begins as Parzival, what his name is?
Parzival.
Z. He begins just with very selfish motives, wanting to be rich and the nice place for him to fit in, but over the course of the journey, he learns there's greater things than your own selfish material desires.
With great power comes greater responsibility.
Is that the movie you saw?
That's what it was meant to be about.
Okay.
Ooh, that's a bit of a slight. So, I'll throw first to Spook. What did you think of Ready Player One?
Jeez, it was a great nostalgia trip. I remember sitting there thinking that this has great rewatchability simply on visuals alone.
I'll pick it up.
That I would love to go back through it over and over again and look at different areas of the screen and see the little things that I've missed and things that I picked up and things that I was meant to recognise. I enjoyed that. I had struggled, I think, a little bit though with the way that the real world and the Oasis world interacted. Yeah, it was, you started the film by establishing that the Oasis had rules that it had to live by, and the real world just sort of did what it had to do to lock in with those, and that sort of threw me a few times, but I'll go into that with a little bit more detail. Chief, off the top of your head, how did you go with it?
Very pretty. Visuals were stunning.
Are you talking about us or the film?
Lucky it was dark because I didn't have to see you two.
I'm talking about the Maltesers.
The Maltesers was fantastic.
Shit.
And it should have been great, but it wasn't. I thought it was fairly lackluster. They tried to do a lot of things, tried to make it great, but I just thought it failed in a lot of instances. There wasn't any fantastic moments. Yeah, great nostalgia trip for the people our age, but there was no wow. There was nothing there that I wanted to come back for and see. And at the end of it, I came out and thought, yeah, okay.
Game over, man.
Yeah. I actually liked it, but I mean, in terms of Spielberg movies, it's like, I think the last great Spielberg movie is probably
Minority Report.
Jurassic Park. I think Minority Report is a really good film, and that's the other one you love, War of the Worlds. I think that's visually a pretty-ish film, and
massively underrated.
But like, I don't rate that as a classic Spielberg. So
give it a few more views.
I've given it enough. I told you my problem with War of the Worlds. I felt like this went for the epic scope, but it didn't quite reach it. Like, watching it, I didn't hate it. Like, I might have hated something like The Last Jedi or The Last Jedi. But what I really sort of thought was lacking was, you sort of had this journey of Z, Wade Watts, whatever, learning this life lesson and all that sort of stuff. And as the movie went on, they really seeded in more the IOI as the villain. But I felt they actually needed to do that really early, so you got some dramatic impetus throughout the movie, some urgency. If you look at something like RoboCop, you know what, they bring in that Ed 209 as a possible, military application. It shoots one of their board members. No one gives a shit. The cops are about to go on strike because OCP's just bought them out and they're not servicing them properly and all that sort of stuff. And immediately you get the sense, OCP is fucking evil. You didn't get that until really, really late, and it wasn't even that they were evil. I just really, like any other business, they're just after a big profit. And I actually thought they needed to do that really early. They really needed to set that up early.
There was one bit with the OII, I'll get it wrong, trying to pronounce for the rest of this.
The oi.
But towards the end, obviously spoilers coming up. Towards the end, where I can't remember the main villain guy, what was his name? Gladius? Ben Mendelsohn. When he was made accountable, the police turned up.
Yeah.
And you thought, well, up to this point, I thought OIO essentially was
OCP.
the police. Yeah, they like in their OCP, they can control the police, they control everything. They're the evil sort of overlords, and then the police were there. Anything? Well, where were the police when everyone was running around shooting up streets and stuff like that? It just sort of felt out of kilter, which is some of the issues that I consistently had with the real world.
That whole final scene's pretty. I actually thought Alfred was pretty poor. Ben Wilson goes to the slums, which is called the Stacks. He gets out of his car, and some elderly woman goes, "If you know it's good for you, better get out of here." And he pulls out a gun, and she draws back, and he gets surrounded by like thousands of people.
They could have jumped him.
And anyone could have just jumped him.
Haven't they seen, 9/11? You jump this guy, otherwise everyone's in trouble.
Yeah, and they could have just jumped him.
A whole bunch of people, presumably in that stack. So they'd be out for a bit of time.
Well, they're as close as we are together. Just because of guns, you'd think a few people would jump in.
So you know what I know this is derived from a book, so it has to go in that source material. It would have been good if they had some sort of area like the slums, which was tapping into the oasis, but it wasn't profitable. It was actually a drain. And then Ben Mendelsohn said, that's fucking, we're losing money there. Let's send some drones and just wipe out that whole area.
But you're changing the whole story.
No, but I'm saying you do that early. No, you're not changing the story, because that's what they are. They're megalomaniacal, they're greedy, they're profiteering and all that sort of stuff. So you're not really changing the story. That's what they end up doing anyway. They killed, what's his name, Z's aunt and... Yeah. Right. So I'm just sort of saying to actually establish these people are evil and they're just after money, and at least at the start you go, you know what? That's really cool, because I know these guys as totally evil pricks. I really didn't start getting that until they probably killed his aunt.
Well, it seems like they were gunning for some sort of financial edge of
they want to make ads.
Dominate with their ad streaming. Then they became an entirely different entity towards the end, which I get that too.
And that's what I wanted to do business, and then later on they wanted to kill people.
And that's what they do. At the start, they should just like being, let's fuck it. We're the rich. We can do what we want, and that's like common in society because the rich generally do that.
There's a lot of setup. So the first half an hour, 45 minutes, and this is part of the reason why that happened. Just all set up with Z and what the Oasis is and what you can do and great visuals, and I think that's what a lot of it's very slow. That whole first bit, like, where is this movie is just all set up. It's all exposition. The first 15 minutes was just voiceover, which is it's just poor.
But that's again where you could have given it some sort of push to actually give the villain some sense of stature. So you actually watch, and every time you see Ben Mendelsohn come on screen, you go, okay, there's the guy we need to be scared of. You weren't scared of him until what? Ever in that film? He reminded me a lot like of Michael Keaton in the reboot of RoboCop, whereas like someone must have come in and polished just the last act of the script and said, he's not evil enough, I'm just going to make him evil, he'll be the villain, he'll do some really villainous things.
Don't do it to the last minute.
Yeah, don't do it, so actually,
and then he gave it up at the last minute.
And actually
didn't shoot him.
And there was like, was there a realisation there?
I don't know, it's just... Yeah.
I mean, because this guy professed no love of video games or nostalgia or anything like that, and for him to be moved, presumably he was supposed to be moved by him holding the egg, it sort of didn't resonate with that character that I've got a reason to actually be happy for him now or back off from where my stance is.
So I actually would have liked if he just shot
through the egg.
Wade in the head and Wade died, and then it turns out that there are oasis in an oasis and he just gets up and he's like in the real world or something. So I'm just going further afield.
Yeah, no, you just keep changing the story.
I'm trying to make it interesting,
Well, there's a lot of things you should make it interesting.
Yeah, well, but that's presumably what you need to do with a movie.
I would like to see at the end where the doors opened again for the 50th time of that van and the Gallagher brothers were standing.
Why did they actually drive the van around? There's the question. Why didn't they just leave it parked in that warehouse?
Well, they did,
but they were parked and then they got located.
No, they didn't.
Yeah, the drones came after.
Yeah. No, they drove out of the car park.
What are you talking about? Anyway, I'm pretty sure that they were getting located, which is why they were on the move.
Because they had the drones going around scanning all the...
but they were parked in the garage, and then later on they're driving around, and I don't know why you drive around the streets when you know the drone's looking for you.
Yeah, but presumably the drones did like a scan at one stage, and then they reported back to that finale that, hey, this is the van, and that's when she came after him.
Yeah, but why were they driving? That's what I'm saying. Why were they just parked in a garage where the drones can't get you?
I'm extrapolating from that the drones will actually scan the things in there. Because we saw the drones go through windows and shit like that.
It's a garage. It's solid brick. It doesn't work. Anyway, that's a minor issue in the end. Like I said, for me, it was just there was no sense of these people. Nothing's going to happen to the staff. So they were in danger, but in no sense anything was going to happen. Anything's going to happen to them. And actually, what you did to their avatars,
just before you go on,
to their own.
That second key, there was 3 riddles to solve. I'll go back to the first and the second. That second key, which was an insertion into Stephen King's The Shining, or Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of The Shining, that went so fucking long. I'm thinking, no one's going to die here, just get it over with. We don't need to see... I forgot his name. The big character. H. Yep. We don't need to see him running around, because we know no one's going to die at this point.
There's a lot of assumption with a lot of those scenes that you really would benefit from seeing The Shining going into it. I mean, a lot of
I haven't seen it, so it didn't make that much sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of appreciated where they were going with that and the way that they recreated it. I enjoyed that. But it did drag.
It dragged. But once H was running around, it was like, did really need that? If you just cut all that out, would have mattered.
I mean, the whole point of those zombie things attacking him 50 different ways to Sunday was to show how they were
Disney executives. Oh, okay.
If only. The way they were going to cut through all the rest of the soldiers with these.
And they go back to the first riddle, which involved a race around the city. Did you notice they actually drove through the GTA landscape from GTA 3?
No.
Okay, well, I'm more observant than you two. So it involved the race, and whoever won the race gets the first key. But no one had ever finished this race because it was so fucking tough. And so Z goes to the library of, this eccentric inventor who created the Oasis and all that sort of shit. And he talks to the curator, who's this mechanized, overseer of this library, and they watch some of the creator's life. And the creator, I forgot his name, sorry, I'm really bad with names, but he goes, why can't you just drive really, really fast backwards? Wouldn't that be cool? And that fucking clicks to Z. Maybe you should drive that race backwards. Maybe that'll be... It was like the worst clue to actually give you a solution as to that fucking first riddle. Whereas like the third riddle, which was about playing the adventure game and the guy who's seated in the first Easter egg in any video game, I thought that was really clever. That actually had a logical extrapolation. But that fucking race was just... Why would you connect those two things?
Yeah, as I said earlier on in the car, I really, just like it was a leap of faith that he went back, and I think he did have some reasoning why he went back and rewatched that moment. It was meant to be some sort of pivotal
moment in his life.
So okay, that's probably where you'd hide it. But it was just like, you're sitting there and you've repeated this thing verbatim. You know exactly what they're going to say. It just dawns on you now for some reason that let's go back, and I'm walking away, and all of a sudden it's went backwards.
Yeah, that's what happens sometimes. Something dawns on you.
When I try spinning, that'd be really tricky.
But it's fine. It's just that actual clue. How do you actually connect those two?
But he's as it's been established in the whole film, he's analysed those memories again and again and again. It keeps going in, and that's what that whole library of his memories is all about. So he's kept going in there, he's analysed all these things, and he actually said, I think it's somewhere in that scene, and that's why he kept going back to that scene. So that's established as part of it. That he thinks that scene is crucial for it. So
I understand that. How do you connect that bit of dialogue to that race?
But you can't die. You can't die in the Oasis, so you can do whatever you want. You want to go backwards, go forwards, go up in the air. You try whatever you can. If it didn't work,
and I'd actually be surprised if IOI, if they're trying to solve this riddle and they've got all this, what is it now, manpower, human power, I don't know, all this staff who is, researching Oasis and trying to find the answers to these riddles, and it didn't dawn on one single one of them, let's just go backwards. You would have thought at that stage, I mean, if anyone's ever played a video game where you get stuck, you start doing really stupid things to try and work your way.
I was about to say, I've played a lot of video games in my life, and a lot of online games. There was always some dickhead that would sit there and go backwards to jam everyone up. It's almost like that stupid thing that was more likely to happen would trigger that gate behind and then go through. And so I actually thought when he said the first time about going backwards that there was some pivotal point to getting past Kong.
Yeah, I thought you spin and go backwards
in reverse or something. I thought, okay, well that. And then when he looked backwards, I thought, nah, he's not going to.
Yeah, but
he's just going to burst through the wall, and there's the end of the track.
Yeah.
How many times have you played a car game and gone backwards just for the hell of it?
Yeah,
I have. All the time.
That's always to hit cars head on because that's the sort of person that I am, but not in real life. So you always do the dumb thing. So, but that's what I'm saying. You probably, if this was not a movie, that trapdoor would have been found earlier on the
Yeah, that's what I think.
by some 5-year-old who wanted to be a pain in the ass and cause carnage or something. So yeah, unless it was all geared to the car had to go specifically backwards or something, but it just seemed like a massive leap of faith. One of lots of leaps of faith that you just got to buy into to accept that that's where we're moving to.
I think this was a kiddie film. I think it was aimed at a kiddie market. It seemed to me to be that.
But it's not quite, because it has all that pop culture.
Yeah, well, you're aiming at an older audience. There was some elements of dark to it. But then at the end, I thought, I just like watching the Goonies now.
Yeah.
You've got the Goonie squad here, and the thing is, we didn't get to meet any of these people. And then there's one other thing that, just to touch on what you were saying before, is that, like, this game would be a global phenomenon. Everything was pretty much like OCI, IOI, the gaming corporation. All these kids were all fucking like 1 kilometre away from each other.
Yeah,
it was just all a bit too confined.
Well, here's the other one. When they had the big battle at the end, how could IOI with one room full of people defeat the whole city of people attacking him at that particular point in time?
Yeah.
Where did the extras come from? It didn't quite work.
They're probably
there's no bots though.
They're probably those gold farmers that were rife in Warcraft.
But it's also like, they had
20 Chinese kids living in a small space this big, grinding for gold.
II is making offers of 25 million, 50 million, which presumably is a lot in that time. You'd think they'd have a lot more people than just like one room full of people who, when they die, they just swap them over.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. You'd think you'd have a whole 50-story building full of every floor of people
and
doing
stuff
what
like,
they need to do.
And in stuff like the race, they were just driving, I don't know, what were they, Holden Commodores they look like? They just, all the sixes jumped in, they're all driving the same car. You think, all right, you've probably done this race a few times, you've probably been smashed up. Surely at this point, someone would be designed, like the H, he had the big four-wheel drive.
All the add-ons.
And you'd think also that it would be like, hey, that guy in the middle, he's the one going for the win, the rest of you are just
to the front stuff,
just protect him, make sure he gets to the win, or she gets to the win. So it was, a lot of that stuff seemed like, they've been competing to solve this Oasis riddle for, I don't know, about 28 minutes, and they hadn't really put any thought or value into it, except for that one redhead who didn't get a name, sorry, not being sexist, but she didn't get a name as far as I'm aware, in the IOI tech lab.
Yeah, that's right.
She was the one coming up with all the realizations.
Generic nerd number 3.
Oh, they're all generic nerds, as the fat bearded guy and all that sort of stuff, and it reminded me a bit of War Games. Like, I probably was a bit of a nod to the geeking War Games. I mean, there's a lot of sort of cross references. I mean, even
lots. There was a heap 80s cross reference, 80s, 90s cross references.
The little,
the whole thing.
I forgot his name, little ninja kid.
Show,
which is obviously after Short Round.
I did know that.
Yeah, so there's a lot of sort of stuff like that they did, which is sort of cute. And you'd see things like RoboCop in the crowd and all that sort of stuff. And there's probably a few times that Spielberg ripped himself off. He had the War of the Worlds monsters in there at one point.
I saw Marvin the Martian in there as well.
he was really
perennial favourite.
He was really there. He wasn't CGI.
What about K9? Was he there? Marvin the Martian always had that dog.
I seen the top.
I saw Marvin.
Pop culture nerds are you?
Yeah. So I don't know. I just really sort of thought it felt very simplistic in its approach.
And felt kiddie.
While it was meant to be kiddie, I mean, you had one of those sixes dropping the F-bomb later in the movie. So that's not really something.
But like I said, it was the things that you're talking about. The mix of the VR and the real world didn't quite mix very well. I don't think it was just a bit hazy. The delineation, like I said, I thought everyone was a drone, therefore, and close enough to a drone, and everyone was just addicted to VR. But that wasn't quite the case. But I thought that's what the whole setup seemed to me, and it was. If you had the money, you just basically lived in this VR world all the time.
And that's the other thing is, like the characters in the game, you can appreciate them having all the great moves and enhanced features and superpowers and all that sort of thing. But it seemed that people in the real world had to act all that out. What are you doing in this world?
What are you going to do these kicks and maneuvers?
And there was a particular scene that grated on me, and it was like when everyone was running towards that Doom battle. And then you saw people in the street with all their VR gear. Well, shouldn't you be tripping over fire hydrants or bashing into each other? And it sort of felt like the film needed to portray that the Oasis was essentially an addiction for people that they couldn't take themselves out of because the real world was so glum. But they all seem to have, I need to do something to better my life.
Yeah.
but there was still aspects of their life that seemed to be quite normally lived outside of the game.
You get cases now where people play Warcraft for like 9 days straight and then collapse from dehydration and malnutrition and all that. You know, and that's just Warcraft. And there's other games where they do that, online games. You'd think if you have a virtual reality world that's that complex and that you have that much power over, you would just get people dropping in their homes.
You think that just, like I said, I thought everyone was addicted. I thought that was the whole start of it.
I mean, we saw what happened to Reg Barclay on the Enterprise.
He did what we all were going to do.
But yeah, you'd think like people would be collapsing and all that. And that sort of wasn't really depicted.
And it seemed they were very aware of their current real-world surroundings when they're in the VR. You know, at the end when he was in the truck and they were driving around, it seemed... Yeah, he's basically talking to the people and talking in the VR world.
So, hang on, let's have a look around. Then,
how could you see what was happening? That's what I'm saying. It was like you could be in both worlds at the same time.
And that bit where Ben Mendelsohn, where he was suckered into thinking he'd gotten out of the Oasis, but he was still in it. And then he found out he was being duped because he saw like a reflection.
Yeah, but if he's not real, how could you see a reflection? If he's still in there, how could you see a reflection in the panel? This is stupid.
But look, even if there's a reason for why there's a reflection in the panel, it's like, seriously, there's a fucking reflection in the panel. Really, that's like the rat leading Bond to fucking their hideout in Spectre.
What a scene.
What a terrible film.
Really, that's how easily get out of it. And actually, it's funny about Ben Mendelsohn. I mean, good luck to him. He seems to be like in A-listing in Hollywood now. He seems like such a nice guy, but just gets cast as a villain. He was like a villain in this. He was a villain in Dark Knight Rises. It's like, what? Like, do they meet him? Go, yeah, you're probably a sadistic prick, aren't you? Let's cast you as a villain.
Get Mendo into it.
Oh, that's right. Oh.
Rogue One. He was the villain in Rogue One.
I hope he's not choking on his aspirations. Anyway, any final thoughts on Rogue One? Not on Rogue One, on Ready Player One.
Look, I enjoyed it for what it was. I mean, it just had some grievances that sort of just kept manifesting in terms of, again, that I would have liked to seen a fairly disparate field that separated the Oasis from real life. But it just sort of meshed too easily and just too conveniently at times. And that was the only thing that really... they're the bits that, if you want to talk about jump-off points, that's the bits that sort of took me out of the movie. But not greatly, but just sort of like it was mild distractions. You know, like, I don't buy into that. I actually preferred probably when they were in the Oasis. It's sort of, you go to movies to escape from normal life and have some excitement and adventure, and that seemed to be the place inside of the film itself that was a lot more interesting than the plight in the real world to me.
Yeah.
Even though it was not, there's no sort of weight to that plight or anything like that. Yeah, you're trying to win a game and win a contest and better your existence for everyone. So that sort of felt like the outcome of most video games at any rate. But yeah, the real world stuff was a little
not to jump off point, but any final thoughts?
Look, I think it was a video game. So like I said, I thought it was fairly lackluster, but I think it was a video game. So you watch the snippets of the video game as you're playing a video game, then you do a bit of action, and then there's another snippet to take the video game further in their storyline, and then there's some video game action, and that's what it seemed to me in a lot of instances. So, if that's what he was trying to get at, great, but that's not what you go to a movie for. I thought, there was the history of the guy who did the Oasis, who thought it up, and his partner, it was like, what happened? Left. You never figured out what happened until the end, and he came back. It's like, why did he leave? I still don't get why they split up and why this guy went by himself and all the rest of it.
Differing interpretations of what they wanted out of the Oasis product.
Yeah.
And they couldn't come to any sort of agreement.
Yeah, you think, but they didn't explain anything. Then he pops up at the end and says, I did all this stuff.
I gave you a Ready Player One.
Yeah, I was
that wasn't foreshadowing by any stretch.
I
don't want the coin, don't take the coin. I want the coin.
So yeah, I thought
it was... I
thought it was okay.
Yeah, that's
about as far as I got.
I liked it. I didn't love it. Like I said, I don't rate that in Spielberg's best movies, but I don't think Spielberg's made an epic Spielberg movie for about 20 years. I actually would have been really curious how this movie would have looked if Spielberg had made this in 1990. Because I think it probably would have had a bit of a darker undertone, not too much.
It would have had 8-bit graphics as well.
Yeah, that would have been good. But just, I think it's sort of a lot of Spielberg's early movies. It has a bit more of a seriousness about them, even when they're lighthearted, like E.T. and that sort of stuff. It has that undercurrent which really gives us some gravitas, which this missed. I think it sort of went for it, but it didn't quite deliver. And like a big part for me was just the opposing forces. You know, I liked the Wade, you know, Z. I just felt you needed a stronger antagonist established from early on, and then if you got that, you probably needed to lop off one of the gang too, just to sort of go, okay, they are in peril here. But as it was, as the movie went on, so yeah, no one's really going to die. What happens? You die in the Oasis and just wake up in the real world, so who cares?
That was one of the things, it's just, when you died in the Oasis, stuff happened. It's like, oh yeah.
Turned into coins.
You turned into coins, like, you know, it felt like you were Sonic the Hedgehog and just rolling over and getting coins, and you know, you die and all the coins go, which is basically where it's based off, all that sort of stuff.
And, Skull Chest, I forgot his name already, but he...
IROC,
yeah. He had like this, I don't know, quite a big part in the movie, and I never really explained him or anything. It just seemed like someone
he's just
a franchise big bad guy.
He's just one of your classic anal tended gamers.
Yeah. Alright, so any jump off points? I'll go first to you, Spook.
I think probably the ease with the you got to go back bit. Sort of, it's not really a jump off, but it was a bit of a step off, because I would have hoped there was a bit more cleverness given to solving the clue. It was just almost like an accidental serendipity way of discovering it. You know, it's one of those things I've watched this 1,000 times. And today is the day that I actually heard what I needed to hear, and that was the bit that I thought, I would have liked to, seen these three clues were the binding of the film. I would have liked to have seen a lot more cleverness around how they were solved. The fact that I think they mentioned that it's been 2 years and nobody's actually worked anything out, then nobody actually worked out that just going back was enough. It's just sort of, that's a safe word. Not massively, but just, I stepped off.
I'll actually jump into it, because I just thought the same thing. That first clue was just, I thought, really... I know he was going there and he knew all about this guy, but it still seemed a really weak connection to the actual race. You know, what he go back was really fast. It's like, oh, fuck, really? Like I said, this is the third clue I thought was really clever. That first line, I just thought, it's just too easy. Surely I would have had, like, a big room of all these eggheads just throwing out any solution. A company like II, you'd think they'd probably be employing, like, 1,000 gamers to try and throw out solutions. They'd be trying everything. Someone would have fluked this by then. That was just like a really, really sort of silly clue. And like, it didn't really massively make me jump off. But when they were establishing this story about the Oasis and whoever solved their truth, it always got to inherit it. I actually thought at that point, this movie is going to live and die on how clever these clues are. And it wasn't that first one.
No, like even the second one, you just jumped on the back of some zombies. It just seemed like, the build up to get to that point was just not worth the payoff for me.
Yep.
But the third one, as you said, it was brilliant. And
it was brilliant, but how did they know to get to the Atari?
Because he had it set up already when they broke through into that zone.
Okay.
I think it was there.
They
worked out the first 3 lines of the...
Okay.
And so they got through that.
So I'm actually curious how that is in the novel, if there's some greater...
I haven't read the novel, but I have read that it's... There's a massive...
I'm not going to read it.
Massive
I don't like
deviation from the...
Are you still reading the novelisation of Last Jedi?
I'm still reading the novelisation of Space Invaders.
Okay. So Chief, what was your jump point?
Oh, look, I never fully jumped off, but the first 10 minutes of voiceover, I always thought this is a bad start. I don't like voiceover.
You've always hated voiceover.
I don't like voiceover.
This will be the time Spook dubs you with voiceover.
Steve hates voiceovers. Next episode.
I don't like voiceovers for 30 seconds, but it actually literally went 5 to 10 minutes
now.
Yeah, no, probably I'm going to hear one from that. But it went for so long. It's like, why? You've just basically expositioned all this much, and I don't like it. And so that's what I'm saying. For me, it was that. Basically, the end of that.
That's always going to be a case of
this is
well. I mean, Matrix does the same thing. It just gives you 10 minutes of exposition.
Yeah, but they do it well, right? Yeah. But I don't think they did it well. I think they wasted a lot of their time with that, and I think they would have better off just jumping into the film itself rather than doing all this voiceover stuff. So I was pretty much at that point. Yeah. But like I said, I never fully jumped off because there was an okay film. But that was when I thought, I'm not expecting much at this point.
Oh, I wasn't expecting much. Any movie I said with you too. So I think that's it from us. If you have any comments, leave them down there. If you want to subscribe, it's there.
There?
Follow us on
Oh, there.
Twitter. No, there.
There.
Yeah, follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Facebook. Join our Facebook group. And look for more from us in the future. See you later.
Thanks for watching.
Cheers.